The aim of Black Mental Matters is to tell experiences with honesty. Therefore, some discussions may trigger an adverse reaction. If a discussion is beginning to upset you, we advise that you please stop listening and talk to your support team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back in black again. It's Vince the Voice and Makeba Reed Johnson. And of course, this is Black Mental Matters. How you doing, Makeba?
I am doing pretty good today, Vince. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. You're looking good. And you know what month this is? May Day, May Day. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Keep it crazy. Oh, my God.
Yes. And I'm excited, Vince, because as you know, we launched this podcast in 2019. And so that's been a few years and things have changed. The statistics have changed. And it kind of got to me this morning because as I was preparing for this podcast, I was looking at some of the data from 2019 versus 2020 versus last year's statistical roundup of 2024. And we've got some things to talk about. But what I wanted to do, because just your energy and my energy, like when we try to do this, because the topic is so heavy, we understand the importance of trying to keep it light. So I want to continue with that same mindset and just with the thinking about, hey, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but it's Mental Health Awareness Month for us every month. But because we're amplifying this message for this month, I want us to kind of charge it with some enthusiasm and some kind of happiness behind it, because every conversation about depression and mental health and bipolar and all the things that we talk about doesn't have to have the heaviness in the conversation.
That's
And so
right.
I want to, so I want to deliver this with a little bit more upbeat messaging this time around. So I'm really excited.
Coach Makeba, it's a party. And just to let folks know that Coach Makeba has over 30 years in this mental health space, 30 years. Amazing. Public health, mental health, wellness, fitness. She has a master's in public health. I'm looking over here, a master's in public administration, bachelor's in social work, 2-time women's Golden Gloves boxing champion, former college professor. She's a vibratal. She does it now, and a life coach. So I get the best of both worlds, as we tackle this. And off camera and off the beaten path, we talk a lot. And I just want to thank you for the service you've provided for so many over the years, Makeba, in this space.
Well, thank you so much, Vince. And I just wanted to mention to everybody listening that you and I actually met at a corporate fight night event.
That's right.
So it's so cool that Vince is actually a part of the community that I gain my mental health strength from. They know him. He does the announcing for their event. So this is actually how this partnership developed. And my first fight was for Black women's mental health awareness. And Vince was actually emceeing that event and that fight. So it's just really neat how this whole thing has come together. And it kind of feels like it's kind of meant to be.
It is. Ladies and gentlemen, Makeba Reed brought her into the ring. And so here we are today. Fast forward. It's May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And what we want to do is break down, first of all, what is, mental health. What is it? It refers to a person's emotional and psychological and social well-being, encompassing how you think, how you feel, how you behave, how you cope with stress, relate to others, make decisions. It's an integral part of overall health and well-being. And it's not simply the absence of mental illness. Just because you don't have depression don't mean that mental health is still going on, with you. And we want this month, for us to really, as you say, positive, good mental health, because it positively affects our lives. It enables us to meet the responsibilities and find happiness. And what I really like about it is it also helps you reach your potential. Because if you're not sitting there dwelling about, oh, woe is me, or whatever is going on in your life and everything, or drinking, and because there's a lot of topics under the mental health. I mean, you're able to get out here and fulfill your purpose. And once you're on that purpose, like Coach Makeba is, and I like to say that I am, that hey, life is a beautiful, beautiful thing, despite what anybody out here doing, right?
Yes. 100%. And I love how you just talked about what specifically mental health awareness is and mental health is, because that's why this is so important in our community. We don't collectively have a singular understanding of mental health that we all agree on, like terms like anxiety, depression. You know, a lot of Black women specifically feel like the term depression means the inability to cope with life because we are sort of charged to be super women and, you know, wear your cape and you can do it and go out there and get those degrees and you can, you know, achieve Black excellence, which has nothing to actually do with your mental health and your emotional well-being. In fact, there is a shirt that I love out there on the market that says, "Don't let these degrees fool you." And when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, I love that because that means, you know, Black excellence, you know, that means, you know, I've been to school, I've got these degrees. But no, but for me, like when I look at that shirt now, I'm kind of wondering where the rest of it is, because for me, that shirt should read, "Don't let these degrees fool you. I'm still dealing with anxiety and mental depression just
Well,
like everybody else."
you know, mental health is not static. It's a like, you know, you hear about an autism spectrum. It's a spectrum of things,
Yes.
and you can experience, you know, good and challenging mental health all at the same time. You know, life experiences, relationships, environmental, all this kind of stuff. But you know, if you recognize it, that's where it starts.
Mhm.
We have to recognize there's some things within me, you know, I recognize there's some weaknesses I recognize. So then, you know, maybe not to get into that kind of situation if you have a choice, right?
Right.
Those kinds
Yes.
of things. Because, and that's for a minute, Makeba, that's what I wanted to call this. We want to call this Black Mental Matters, not just the clinical stuff, but just how we process things and go through life on a daily basis. You, again, the boxing in your life and, you know, the coaching and therapy and all that adds up to one healthy human being.
Yes, yes. And you just hit the nail on the head again, Vince, because what you're talking about is how Black mental health impacts everything that you're doing every day. It impacts the relationship with your family. It impacts the way that you're interacting with your coworkers at work. It interacts how you feel when you're by yourself and you're just in your own headspace. Some people don't realize that it's not normal or it's not healthy to just be in a state of where your mind is just racing to the point of where you can't sleep at night. Like overachievers and people that have anxiety sometimes tend to feel, especially as African Americans, that anxiety is like a good thing and that we're supposed to, you know, be doing something all the time to have some type of positive outcome or achievement. And actually, the achievement right now needs to be the call to action for us to stop and ask ourselves, what are we doing? Like, what day to day protocols are we putting into place that are helping us with our mental health? Because you cannot escape how your mental health is impacting every single facet of your day. And then your children, your spouse, your coworkers, your family, their interaction with you is based upon the way that you are showing up in the world. So if you're not even aware that you have depression, and then, you know, you're around family members and they're like, you're a drag to be around, you're like, oh man, let me pull myself out of this because I don't want to drag anybody down. And that's the opposite of what you should be feeling. You should be feeling like, I've got to figure out what the heck this is and address it.
Well, you know, and as you said, you know, the Black mental health, do want to be clear, it's for everybody, but we had to address what goes on, particularly in our community, because of the taboo nature of it. You know, nobody wants to talk about it. Put Uncle up in the attic. You know, don't leave no kids with him, but we ain't gonna tell on them though. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it can happen to anybody, any age, sex, background, ethnicity, any can get that behavioral health disorder. Females, I didn't, like you said, females more commonly experience the depression, anxiety, and then eating disorders. you know, and
Yes.
yeah, while the boys, the men, more likely experience substance abuse and
Mhm.
antisocial personality traits. I always talk about walking around sometimes, and especially the brothers, and everybody mean mugging. I mean, good Lord, we had a point.
Yes.
I come in like this, you know. I don't want none. I'm like, dude, I'm good, man. You know, break the ice kind of thing. But you know, we have that machoism within ourselves, and that can cause,
You
take
know
you.
what? I'm going to ask you a personal question. I want you to be
Uh-oh.
honest on this camera because this is a conversation that I've had with my husband before. And I think it's something exactly what you just said. When my husband and I go into a restaurant, he has to sit facing the door.
Or
And I was like, why? And he said, because somebody might come in here and there's, a robbery. And he's serious. And that he's not the first person that I've heard say that. So
no,
you're
it's true. It's
absolutely
true.
right.
It's true. It's not some of that old wild, wild west kind of stuff. You know, you didn't want to have your back to the door when Black Bart walks in, you know, and his boys, you sit up there still talking, and they getting ready to pull on you. You know, no. I mean, you know, as men, we're protective. We want to, you know, control the situation as much as we can. So no, that's a good way to go, Norm. He
Oh,
represent. He
thank you.
represent. You know, hey, look, he got to take care of y'all. I was on your website on there. Look like Rihanna, girl, on there, Coach Makeba. So
Oh,
Norm has to make sure ain't nothing gonna happen to Coach Makeba.
well, thank you. Thank you, Vince. But it's really funny because like we are like laughing about it, but it made me realize that that's also cultural.
Yes.
That there is a feeling of I gotta protect you
Oh
from
yes.
the world, and that gives or that comes also with a sense of anxiety because you
Yes.
should not feel like you have to face the door and we're just eating waffles, you know.
Well, yeah, I can see that. You know, it's going to make you tense up a little bit. You know, just sitting there, you're not really enjoying the syrup and everything because you're so busy looking around to see what's going. But you know that can be that's an extreme. Most time things are fine. Once we get a lay of the land, then it's like, oh, okay, this place is cool. But I do understand very well, and I encourage all men, yeah, make sure you face the door to see what's happening. Make sure you know where the exit's at, all that kind of stuff, you know, to protect your peeps.
You're not helping with this one.
Yes, I am. Well, okay. So, well, like that. Should we talk about what things, or if we can, talk about what are some of the things that can increase your risk of developing some type of mental illness, alcohol or recreational drugs? No doubt about it. If you don't get your proper nutrition,
Yes.
if you don't have a support system, thank God, you know, you have people in your lives that you know you can talk to and who's going to be looking at you and saying, hey, Vince, you know, you've been kind of on the edge lately. Is everything all right? If you had a traumatic birth, I did not realize that, or were born from a high risk pregnancy, that increases your chance of suffering from or having a mental illness. Chronic conditions that, you know, if it cancer, diabetes, those things can affect. If there's a history of behavioral disorders in your family, not sleeping, extreme stress, stressful jobs. I can't imagine like your air traffic control people. That's, you know, everything. You know, there's a list. There are things that you can recognize. Say, oh wait, I need to check this. And as a therapist, I know you encourage people seek some help, right?
Well, I'm not a therapist, but yes,
Well,
but I am
right.
in alliance with
Yes.
therapists, and
Yes.
absolutely, and as an advocate of therapists and
Yes.
as an advocate of therapy, I absolutely encourage individuals to go seek support from a culturally competent therapist. Because yes, absolutely, I read this morning that in 2020, and I didn't know this, that African Americans were the highest number of statistically of emergency room mental health visits
Wow.
in 2020.
Mm.
So yeah, so and these numbers they haven't gone down like this. We are in a state of crisis, just across the board culturally. I mean, and it's not just, African Americans. However, we are focusing on this community because number one, we both have lived experience with this, and we understand how hard it is to break this stigma if you're not talking about it. And also that we have to make people understand that therapy is not something to be ashamed of. If you are in therapy and you've got a good therapist and you're making headway, I encourage people, you don't have to talk about your business, but share that information with people that you're close to so that people can see, yeah, therapy works, because sometimes it kind of feels like therapy is behind like a closed off wall, and you don't really have access to all the amazing therapeutic modalities and the treatments. Oh, therapy. I love therapy. And when you get a good therapist, that person can unravel so much in your life that you have not been able to unravel because number one, they're educated on this. They're licensed with this. There's accountability with this, and they know what they're doing and they're objective. So it's not like you're talking to a family member and then that person is, then worrying about you. It's a personal thing. This is objective, and that therapist is able to put you on back on that path where exactly what you're saying, Vince. You want to live up to your fullest potential, and that's not about just Black excellence and achieving some, job or title. That's about you are the best version of yourself. And when you go to bed at night, you have peace. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you're thinking about is positive things, and you're excited about the day, and you are, saying what a great day it is, and you're thinking what a great day it is. That's where you want to try to get in your mental health, and therapy can help you do that.
I tell you what, I'm feeling it right now. That was so good, Makeba. Thank you. And when you talk about good therapy, good therapists, we do want to invite. I know that you are in that world, but we are looking forward to talking to a number of these therapists, culturally competent therapists who have perhaps some unique best practices, those kinds of things on how we can deal with stuff. Sometimes all it takes is a talk. That doesn't mean you're in therapy for years. You could sometimes one session, and it opens up your eyes as to what it can, what's possible to help you. There are many treatments, as we talk about mental health, and we're not doctors or anything like that, but some things are always the same. And of course, there's the medications. And listen, if you need to take lithium or something like that to level it out, because you always hear about what imbalance and bipolar kind of thing. Sometimes you got to level it out. Make sure you take those medicines. They change the chemicals in your brain so you experience fewer symptoms. You need to take that medicine. I'm so adamant about that because that's what my family member did not want to take the medicine, and ended tragically, so please. Then there's the psychotherapy, talking to a mental health professional that can help walk you through the challenges of the illness and manage its symptoms. There's alternative therapies, and I know you're an advocate of that as well. You talk about the sound, and give me a little brief. What is that when we talking about the sound therapy?
Yeah, so there's a modality of healing called sound therapy. The what I'm licensed in, or what I'm certified in, is vibrational sound therapy. But what sound therapy does, and it's really cool when you think about this, is that it focuses on the power of sound and sound waves on mental health and also your physical health, because everything around us is so visual as far as computers, the phones, streaming, that we're not really paying attention to. Do you balance that out with just listening? Just listen to music, just listen to nature. And when you start to reprogram your brain to just focus on just sound, there is of course, there's data. Your blood pressure is reduced. Yeah, it has an impact on PTSD, anxiety, depression, because what it does, it makes you stop and get out of that anxious headspace and get more in tune with your body, especially the vibrational sound therapy where Tibetan bowls, oh, it's deep. Tibetan bowls, hand hammered.
I experienced that. Yes, it is deep. Yes.
Amazing. These bowls are placed at certain meridians on your body and then lightly struck. And then those vibrational frequencies. And let me tell you this, because I just think this is fascinating. Each bowl is hammered or formed to a certain frequency. So each time that you strike the bowl, it emits a certain vibrational frequency that your brain and your body respond to by aligning with that frequency. It is the most peaceful, or one of the most peaceful states of just being that I've ever experienced. So I definitely encourage people to get out there, try some vibrational sound therapy classes. I know that there are pop-up classes all over the country, especially in the Southeast here in Atlanta with sound therapists. I know several certified sound therapists. So, I mean, that's definitely something that people can definitely, go on our website, go through our guests that we've had on our podcast, and like look at some of the resources that we have, because sound therapy will change your life. And all you have to do is just register for the class online and just show up.
Go and then you can visit coachmakeba.com and reach directly out. She can help you with that. But you said music, and it made me think, and I've said it many times, been blessed to be in the world of ballroom dance for 14 years as an MC, travel around. It's been amazing, but that it's my happy place. I mean, I am actually sitting there in a 17, sometimes 18-hour day. Sometimes not as much anymore, but it's nothing but music all day. Beautiful, waltz and tango and Viennese waltz and, these beautiful songs. And it helps me just zone out. And so I encourage you to look into the sound. I'm a witness that it is possible. Makeba, in the amount of time that we have left, we always, want to, as you did now, that's one opportunity for folks is through sound therapy. But we want to make sure that people have some action steps. I guess the first thing I'll throw up is that, and it's actually being implemented. Finally, the 988. That's everywhere now. If you or someone that love appears to be suffering from a mental health episode of some sort, it's very simple, 988, and that'll get you in contact with someone on the other end. You actually worked in that world. Can you talk about that a little bit? The text line, the crisis lines?
Yeah. I did some volunteer work in that space, and the education that those providers get is unparalleled, because the focus is on holding space, not judging, understanding mental health concerns, and that also takes the place of that 911 call, which we used to only have that as an option, as far as someone being in a mental or even a physical, type of distress. So now that's what that 988 number is for. That is only mental health distress calls. And those providers are educated on mental health concerns specifically.
I know that there was some great emphasis on that, and there were some resources here in the state of Georgia, and I think nationally. I don't know where that is now. However, people putting a focus on this. When we came out of COVID, I mean, that was talk about like Michael Jackson, man in the mirror. We had to look at ourselves in the mirror for 3 years. And a lot of times we didn't like what we saw, and ended up developing into some mental health challenges for a lot of people. And so, we definitely want to lobby anybody we can and encourage anybody we can that, yes, it is worth it to put resources into mental health awareness, mental health prevention, mental health support. And we have made a pact and a vow that we want to encourage young people to get into this field, so that we can have more, again, culturally competent, whether it's, Black, definitely Black, Asian, Chinese, whatever the folks are out there, so that you have someone who really knows where you're coming from. Because, while we are all the same, we do have different cultural differences that are unique to us.
Yes, absolutely. And just especially in the Black community, where we are sort of, made to feel like talking about our personal business is airing out our business, or,
Or
telling a
weakness.
stranger
Yes.
about the family business and to keep it in the house. So, yes, so this is very important for us just to keep talking about it, and also to understand that the language from generation to generation is different. So, yeah, so if you are online and you see people using the word unalive, that means, or that word or that terminology has replaced suicide. So that's how young people are now, putting words to some of these, concerns. So we, as, being, we're like 100 years old, Vince. I mean, we're old. I mean, but, all jokes aside, we need to be able to know that we understand that when young people are speaking about mental health, their language might be completely different. So when we see these, or when we hear our kids, mentioning these types, of things, we need to pay attention, and also to let them know, hey, you can come talk to me. And if you can't come talk, if you can't, or if you don't feel like you can, talk to somebody that's close to you, go talk to, somebody in your church, talk to someone at school, or a counselor that you can talk to. Find someone that you can talk to start making sure that you have support, because nobody should be going through any of this alone. And that's why we're here, to make sure that people know that they have a village.
I did not. That was a revelation I did not realize. And you are so, boy, that is, that the language is different. I had never heard the term unalive used in the situation of a suicide. So, like you say, so that's one terminology, but they have their own language. And I think that the young people of today, this May Mental Health Awareness Month, that they're more mentally aware they're more aware of mental health than we were, definitely. So, which means, of all times, they're more aware than ever before about feelings and their mental health. And I think that's why I don't want to work in no office. They got a little, but
Yeah.
that's a
Hey,
good
shout out
thing.
to them though, because they are like not for this return to office.
Right,
I
but
love
it's
them.
gonna balance itself out, because there was no choice before, and if it becomes down to there's no choice, then I mean that's what you're gonna have to do. But there is a completely different language, and a new eyeballs on this thing that we call mental health, and for one, I'm glad of it, that the young people are thinking about that, because it makes such a difference in how then you traverse through life. You can't focus on the opportunities if you're angry all the time. It's something that happened when you were a kid. You could be, somebody could be telling you something right there in your face that could change your life for the positive, but because you're in this, you're surrounded by this issue, you're not hearing it. And so that's why these things are so important. That's why mental matters matter.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and they matter across the board, from the generation, from the youngest to the oldest. And we need to start having the conversations like between our family members, even if they feel like, they don't want to hear it. We need to talk about it And, I just want all parents to know, and I say this from a place of love, that when you are talking about therapy and opening up about therapy, just to understand that no matter, what or how hard you worked as a parent, that there are things that, your child needs to talk about, that none of us were perfect. I was in the mental health space for years, and I know that I still missed things, and I need to understand and be humble enough to know, okay, my kids might need to talk about me in therapy too. And for me to receive that, because sometimes those therapies or those therapeutic sessions might lead to, hey, so and so, go write a letter to your mom, or go, have a conversation. You need to be ready to also receive whatever it is that your child needs to tell you, and not be defensive, and just love them through it and not take it personal, and just understand that this is what this healing is all about, is being able to have these conversations and then let the outcome be with love.
My God, I'm about to take up a collection. Would the ushers come forward? Would the ushers come down? Start singing the song, Sister Sally. Start singing that song that get to your heart.
Wait,
Boy, that's
I want you to sing for me.
that's good stuff right there, Makeba. I tell you what, we're gonna wrap it up on that point. Take that with you. And speaking of which, and support that as we move forward. Again, congratulations, Makeba and Vince, on relaunch of Black Mental Matters and during this Mental Health Awareness Month. But we do look for partners. We are looking for support. We are looking for donations, all those kinds of things, because we like to bring so much more. We want to bring so much more to this space, and you can help us. And all you got to do is send us an email, info@blackmentalmatters.com. You can go to Coach Makeba's website, coachmakeba.com. However you can get ahead, send a homing pigeon. Just let us know, because we want to work with you. We're not in this thing alone. I know you want to help us as well. So, Makeba, as always, Coach, what a good time we had.
That's right. Always.
Yes.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you so much. God bless everybody. And remember, Black mental does matter. See ya.